Hey guys, I'm back. Ready for our next chapter of Magic Treehouse number 7, Sunset of the Sabretooth by Mary Pope Osborne, published by Random House. So when we last left, Jack and Annie were running from a saber-toothed tiger. They fell into a Cro-Magnon trap, ended at the bottom of a really deep pit, and they were stuck. Then they hear some weird music. They finally look up and they see that sorcerer. Let me show you that picture. So they see the sorcerer staring down at them, and after getting kind of frightened, like, whoa, no, they hear squeak, squeak, because Peanut was peering down at them too. So let's see what happens in our next chapter, The Sorcerer's Gift. And I think Henry's going to read this one with me. Come on up. Okay, here we go. Chapter 7, The Sorcerer's Gift. The sorcerer didn't speak. He stared through the eye holes of the owl mask. "Help us, please," said Annie. So the sorcerer threw a rope into the pit, and Jack grabbed it. "He wants to pull us up," said Annie. Jack looked up, and the sorcerer was gone. "Where did he go?" said Jack. "Tug on the rope," said Annie. So Jack tugged, and the rope tightened. It began rising. "I'll go first," said Annie cheerfully. "Annie, this isn't a game," warned Jack. "Don't worry, I'll be careful." Jack gave her the rope. "Okay, but hold on tight," he said. Annie held the rope with both hands, and she pushed her feet against the side of the pit, and she rose into the air with the rope. She kept pressing against the side of the pit until she reached the top. Jack saw the sorcerer reappear and help Annie up, and they moved out of sight. Jack was puzzled. The sorcerer had used both hands to help Annie. So, who held the other end of the rope? "Wow," came Annie's voice. "What's going on?" Jack wondered. The sorcerer came back and threw the rope down again, and Jack grabbed it, and the rope started to rise. Jack held on tight, and he started up. His hands burned, and his arms felt as if they were being pulled out of their socket, but he kept his hold on the rope and his feet against the side of the pit. At the top, the sorcerer pulled Jack onto the snowy ground. Onto the snowy ground. I gotta find my spot. "Thanks," said Jack, standing. The sorcerer was tall. He wore a long fur robe, and Jack could only see his eyes through the owl mask. "Hey," Annie called. Jack turned. Annie was sitting on a woolly mammoth. Only Annie, right? Seriously, only Annie. Squeak! Peanut was sitting on the mammoth's head. And the mammoth looked like a giant elephant with shaggy reddish hair and long curved tusks. The other end of the rope was around the mammoth's large neck. "Lulu pulled us up," said Annie. "Lulu?" said Jack. "Don't you think she looks like a Lulu?" said Annie. "Oh, brother," said Jack. He walked up to the mammoth. "Hey," said Annie, "mammoth starts with M. Maybe Lulu's the special thing." "I don't think so," said Jack. The great creature knelt down just like a circus elephant. "Whoa," said Annie, and she clutched the mammoth's ears to keep from falling off. The sorcerer helped Jack climb onto the mammoth. "Thanks," said Jack. Then the sorcerer reached into a pouch, and he pulled out a smooth white bone and handed it to Jack. The bone was hollow, and it had 4 holes along one side and 2 on the other. Here's Jack and Annie. Let me kind of pull it back just a little bit. There you go, so you can see the whole thing. So they're both on the mammoth. It's a little hard to see, but Peanut is right there in front of Annie. And the sorcerer is giving Jack this white bone with 4 holes in it. Can you think of what that might be? "Oh man," said Jack, "I think it's his flute." The book said they make flutes from mammoth bones. Jack tried to give the flute back to the sorcerer. "Nice," he said politely, but the sorcerer held up his hand. "He wants you to keep the mammoth bone," said Annie. "Mammoth bone," whispered Jack. Hey, maybe this is the third thing, said Jack. Jack looked at the sorcerer. Do you know Morgan? He asked. The sorcerer did not answer, but his eyes sparkled with kindness. He turned away from Jack and untied the mammoth's rope. Then he whispered into the giant ear of the giant woolly creature. When the mammoth stood up, Jack gripped Annie's coat to keep from falling off, and he felt miles above the ground. He nestled behind Annie and in the dip between the mammoth's head and the huge curved back. The mammoth took slow, plodding steps across the snow and then picked up speed. Where are we going? Said Jack as they bumped up and down. To the tree house, said Annie. How does he know where it is? Said Jack. She just knows, said Annie. Jack looked back. The sorcerer was standing in the snow, watching them. But at that moment, the clouds parted and the sun came out. Jack was blinded by the sunlight on the snow, and he squinted to see, but the sorcerer had vanished. That's the end of the next chapter. The next chapter is chapter 8, and it's called The Great Parade. I wonder what will happen next. Thanks for watching. See you next time.